Welcome everybody to another edition of Hot Program. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast, and as always, good people, I am in airplane mode, and now a man who is with child. A man who needs no introduction.
Well said, Pocket Luck. Well said.
How you doing today, my one black friend?
I'm doing
Great.
great.
My
My
daughter is
daughter's
joining me
joining
for
me
the
for the
beginning.
beginning.
She needs
She
to
needs
take
to
a
take a
nap.
nap.
She woke
She
up
woke up an hour and a half
early,
early,
and she
and she
shows it.
shows it.
She's getting
I'm
big.
not
I'm not
saying I
saying
don't
I
look
don't
work.
look worth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
she's
1 year
1 year
old.
old. Just made
Wow.
a
Can't
year.
believe it's been a year already.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You
Yeah,
want to
it's a
say
lot
hi?
bigger.
You want to
You
say
want to say
hi?
hi?
You don't want
You
to
don't
say
want to say
anything, do
anything,
you?
do you?
It's
It's
so
so
cute when you
cute when
say
you say
hi.
hi.
Yeah, my one little black friend. Hey, Paulie B, good to see you. Paulie B been on a bit of
That's
a
my friend.
rager.
That's my friend,
I've
Among
among
others.
others.
been late to the last couple Uncle Bobby videos. I got to get in there, get one of my wins. Also, quick reminder, y'all, we opened up our new. Oh, you're getting an echo. Let me see.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's because it changed the audio source for my one black friend.
You want to
You
say
want to say
hi?
hi?
All right, that should be better. Sorry about the echo.
You want to eat my shirt?
That should have fixed it. Is it better on you
I
guys'
don't hear an
end?
echo.
No, I'm talking to the chat. They shouldn't be getting an echo anymore.
You're out of here, my dear. All right. No.
Chat, is the echo fixed? Uh-oh.
Yeah.
They're gonna make me listen.
When we buy our own house, our next house, I'm gonna get you a room that has like
Hey,
furniture,
Paulie B, is the echo
washing.
fixed? That's better. Okay, great. So, yeah, so there's a link in the description to our new virtual headquarters. There's also a link down there to support Lina. We're trying to get Lina a new phone so she can stay connected. And yeah, we had a great time last night. Played a bunch of games. Kyle introduced us to Farkle. I never played that before. Really great dice game. So definitely check out the links in the descriptions. And yeah, get connected. All right, y'all. We've got a video we've been working on. This part 3. She's got about 10 minutes left, and we're trying to keep today's show around an hour. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the clip. We'll try to let her go in chunks so that hopefully we can get through it in the next hour and have some time for discussion at the end. So again, this is beware the dangers of black Christianity in a white Christian nationalist America. And low key, I think this person, Larry Daniel Favors, who's really seems sharp about all of this, is of course a Christian, I think. And it just we're gonna try to see how she lands all this. This moment that we're living in is really interesting just because of how much cope I see from black Christians. So let's see what happens.
Religion, but at the time that it was being formulated in the initial outset, it was a very African concept and construct. And as an institution, African Christianity was largely compatible with African life, meaning, and purpose. There was no real need to choose between being black and being a Christian, again, because Europeans didn't start creating phrases like black and white so that they could justify enslaving us until many centuries later. Now, what's important about this is that we have to be learned about the shift that took place from what was happening in the continent of Africa when people were understanding what that version of Christianity was to what began happening as a result of how Europeans evolved during the Dark Ages. Now, keep in mind, we got that two cradle theory, which I've described before a little bit at length. Two cradle theory, look up Sheikh Anta Diop. He talks a lot about how there were two cradles of civilization, one being African, one being European. And in the African cradle of civilization, you had abundance. You had land that could produce crops.
All right, is she talking to us? Because we might want to mute if not. just so I don't know if it's distracting to the audience or
I'm
not.
muted there. I'm muted.
No worries, no worries.
You had people who had their needs met. They wasn't starving. They weren't cannibalizing each other because they had their needs met in abundance. But in Europe, where they were living in caves, where they were commingling with Neanderthals at the early outset of their history, and this is not shade. That's just I was just in museums in South Africa talking about this. All right, I'm not trying to shade, but the idea that you could be personally injured or offended by a retelling of your history, that says a lot about what might happen with how you use your history in today. But when you talk about what was happening in Europe, they were in the Dark Ages, and we had Mansa Musa disrupting the entire global economy of considering how much gold he was giving away. While they were in Dark Ages, they were living in systems that they ultimately cultivated that would give birth to the slave era. They had feudal land systems where you had a landlord, a man, or definitely a man who owned the land. And then you had a whole bunch of poor people who lived on the land who didn't own anything, but they rented it as serfs. This system gave rise to indentured servitude, which also allowed the foundations for enslavement. But once Christianity became European, it also became a fundamental tool of African domination and white Christian nationalism. Now, I'm going to be reading from the Equal Justice Initiative. They have this phenomenal article that talks about European Christians and how they began embracing Christianity. And this article is called The Role of the Christian Church. And in the role of the Christian church, some of the things they talk about, in fact, you know what? Let me share my screen because y'all be thinking, we're going to show you some sources. We're going to show us how to read and interpret sources. All right, here we go. Starting in the 15th century, we see here, when European powers initiated contact and commercial activity with sub-Saharan Africa and continuing throughout the following centuries, organized religion played a leading role in developing, supporting, and legislating the transatlantic slave trade. Rooted, it says, in a belief that their duty to spread Christianity justified their actions, religious organizations did not only embrace human trafficking and the enslavement of millions of Africans, they actively participated. In 1452, we scrolling down, in 1452 and in 1455, Pope Nicholas V formally supported Spain and Portugal's mass kidnapping and enslavement of Africans because it would help to Christianize, not liberate, Christianize enslaved people. In 1548, Pope Paul III uses his apostolic authority, whatever the hell that is, to declare the slave trade legal in the eyes of the church, which empowered the religious monarchies in European nations to continue to engage in transatlantic trafficking. What this means is there were questions about whether or not this shit should continue, and the church was like, no, we good. We're good. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. And so if that is the case, and that's where we're at right now, sorry, I've got hair all in my face. I need to focus. If that's what's happening, and that's where we're at right now, we need to ask ourselves, what are some of the remnants of this sort of Christianity that we see today? As we start out talking about this topic, we're looking at these stories of two lynchings. The article goes on to talk about that the Pope and their friends were accepting gifts of enslaved Africans who were shipped to Africa, to Rome from Africa. Through transatlantic trafficking, the church systematically extended its influence. European enslavers baptized millions of enslaved people whose labor they used to amass vast wealth. Why does that matter? Because the Christianity that white Americans practiced was not one about redemption and holiness. It was about empire. It was about empire. And on a day like today, when we are dealing with white Christian nationalism being at the heart of declaring war against people who are in disagreement with their perspectives, when we're looking at white Christian nationalism being at the heart of allowing an administration like this one to destroy black communities by canceling access to funds and resources that were set aside to specifically help them ameliorate the harms of the white nationalism that got them poisoned in the first fucking place. According to PBS, as late as 1800, most slaves in the United States had not been converted to Christianity because Europeans did not want them converting to Christianity because they felt guilty about the fact that you cannot enslave a fellow Christian. And so Christians, white Christians, began using different tools and resources. I want you all to take a listen to this clip. This is a clip from NBC Nightly News that talks about one of these sources, and that is a source known as the Slave Bible. Now, YouTube, I'm going to try to play this for you all so that you can see the video. Hold on one second. Let's make sure we get this. This is a slave Bible because white Christians did not believe once they started preaching Christianity to enslaved Africans, it wasn't to allow them to have their souls cleansed by the blood of Jesus and washed whiter than snow. It was to make more slaves. If you're a black Christian today and you're not grappling with this and you are embracing a Christianity of white nationalism, you and I, we don't serve the same Jesus. You're serving white nationalism. There is a difference. But let's look at this video and talk about some of the ways.
All right, y'all. I promise we're gonna try to let her get through this. I'm just so confused. My flabber is all the way gasted. I think she is a Christian. I mean, like I look her up and her page celebrated her 45th birthday or whatever, and she said Mother, Father, God orchestrated her life. I don't even know what mother, father, God means, and she wanted to
Oh,
be
that's new
blessed
age.
by
That's
the
a new agey
ancestors.
kind of thing to
It's
say.
very new agey, man. It's
Yeah.
very like I don't know. This thing is weird. So I need to hear that last statement because it sounds like she's trying to hit black folks with that metacognition, with that you need to think about your thinking. You need to reflect on how you came to know this Christianity thing. But what are we talking about?
Are slaves. In Christianity to enslaved Africans, it wasn't to allow them to have their souls cleansed by the blood of Jesus and washed whiter than snow. It was to make more slaves. If you're a black Christian today and you're not grappling with this and you are embracing a Christianity of white nationalism, we don't serve the same Jesus. You're serving white nationalism. There is a difference.
And see, that's the code. We don't serve the same Jesus. Is it Jesus or is it not Jesus? This is what I'm saying. So now I'm supposed to, as a secular person, I'm supposed to sit here and figure out which one of y'all is serving the correct Jesus and then go after the correct Jesus. And Lori, during your favors, how did your Western, as far as I could tell, a black American ass become a Christian? It was not through this. Like it's like this. You see, a lot of people are doing this, and it tells you how bad Christianity really is. If you are an American or you are a Westerner, you got Western Christianity. You got introduced to the Christianity of Europe or the Christianity of America, and that is how you became a Christian. What is with the white boys being like, oh, I'm Orthodox and I'm in touch with the earliest traditions and I've reconnected to the early church from thousands of years ago, how the early Christians practiced it in the times of. What are you talking? No, you're an American in 2025 who was born somewhere between like 1960 and 2010, and we know the Christianity that you practice and we know where you got it from. And black folk acting like somehow they, as black people in America, through intellectual osmosis, have connected with the ancestors in Africa, and now they're quote unquote black Christians in the tradition of the original African Christianity, which predates and preeminates the whites. This is just cope. This is just. And it tells you that none of y'all want to be associated with the Christianity that actually led to you becoming a Christian. You're all reaching for something other than the religion that was taught to you and trying to act like that is the true Christianity when Christianity is what Christians do. Like this idea that it's a form of apologetics, y'all. I can
Well,
tell you as a non-believer, Christianity is what Christians do. This idea that you can ignore what Christians are doing, you can ignore the impact they're having on the world, and then you, in your mind's eye, can claim some sort of intellectual lineage to a displaced Christianity. You always hear apologists talk about out of context. Girl, you're out of context. Out of context. Black Christianity, as it was practiced in Africa traditionally, has almost nothing to do with what we are dealing with in America these days. Go ahead, my one black friend.
I think a key thing to remember, Pocket Locker, is that American Christianity is marketed to them as a personal relationship with
Yeah,
Jesus, a
yeah.
personal relationship with God. So it really is faith on your own terms. And
Mm,
I think that's something key to remember. She is generalizing. She is, to borrow from Tom Likas, broadcasting. What she's saying is a broad message, not a narrow one. And I think we need to understand that about the way she's communicating this message and the words that she's using, right? They reflect that. One thing she is exposing is that there is a Christianity people believe. You're saying the same thing. There's a Christianity that people believe in, and then there's Christianity, or the Christianities people believe in, and then there's Christianity. I could even argue successfully, probably, that within the space of the Bible itself, there are multiple Christianities there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sadly, I mean, I think they're going down the wrong path. A lot of them. I think they believe in some false things. All of them. If they think Jesus was real, I don't think he was. But I think that's what's going on. Obviously, not unlike myself, the slavery part offends her. It does me. And when I sort of picked up on the fact, like, wait, God has all these rules in the Bible for how slaves are to be dealt with. Why doesn't he have rules saying you can't have slaves? And
But I would
that
tell,
caused a big severance between me and the God of the Bible, thinking you had a chance to fix one of the greatest errors that history has ever made,
and you didn't do it.
and you didn't do it.
You didn't do it. And I of course would take it one step further and just say to most Christians, get comfortable with it. Get comfortable with it. You love slavery. You love slavery. I will repeat, you love slavery because
There's a
Christianity is the
few.
desire to be a slave. No, not
The,
a few, not a few, all of
well,
them.
what I wanted
Again,
to say was
okay, good.
you'll find a few YouTubers who will openly express that. G-Man is one of them. Like in even modern times, under the right conditions, he wouldn't mind being a slave. And there's a part of me that says we can test that. We can actively test that. There are parts of the world I could ship him to. When I can afford the ticket again, I'll ship him there. We'll see how he does. You can get your cell phone back after 2 years, and then you can call for help. Call the freaking A-team, have them extract you from the slave state if they're coming. But I don't think he'd like it. He's just saying that it would be okay. It would matter to him, to, I guess, maybe it would prove that he's serious. And when the Bible is telling slaves to be good to their masters and be exemplary slaves, I would have heard that and been like, somebody can F all the way off, all the way off. And I hope the master doesn't sleep well tonight. He
Yeah,
will
but
for part of it,
but
if I can get to him,
that's the problem I have with all Christianity is it is the desire to be a slave. They romanticize it. They try to make it like it's quote unquote good slavery. That's literally their belief. Their belief is that it's good slavery when it's to God, right? I'm sorry, like
but
we
but
have a very go ahead.
but we know that's false, right? Jesus said to the rich young ruler, "Sell all you have and give it to the poor." Right? There's all these scriptures that talk about the righteousness. I mean, the rich have their reward right here on earth. They're not going to see heaven. They won't see the kingdom, right? They won't. Well, if that is the case, and the kingdom isn't purely symbolic, meaning you stop caring about what you don't have and focus on what you do. Don't focus on what you can't give. Focus on what you can. And that becomes the kingdom of God here on earth that men do not see. And there isn't a place to go to like Chicago. Then okay, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna be happy. You're gonna immerse yourself in it, and you don't have to sell all you have to get there because you don't have much
It's
already.
just all so fake. Honestly, I don't really believe the Bible teaches to give away your riches. I don't believe the positive messages in the Bible. That's something I should just state very clearly up front, and people should understand. I don't take the Bible seriously at anything. I think the best you get from the Bible is like a used car salesman playing word games on you. And I think it's very much the way Christians are today. I think the same way today Christians do hate. We say there is no hate quite like Christian love. I'm
Christian
gonna
love.
repeat that for all the Christians in the audience. There is no hate quite like Christian love. What does that mean? That means you could call it Christian love all you want to, but the rest of the world sees it for what it is. We know exactly what it is. We name exactly what it is, and we call it based on its proper name, which is hate. So all of the give away your stuff and be good to, I just don't buy any of it. It's just all a sales pitch from people who I don't believe, because again, we see how their beliefs manifest themselves in the world, and it's always ignorance and abject cruelty. So that is what I think Christianity is. And I think what it's doing with all of the positive messaging is just brainwashing people. It's just brainwashing
You know that
suckers
happens.
into, yeah, they have to. They have to. You couldn't do it. You couldn't really do the dirty work they need you to do if you saw through it. So they need to convince you that that is really this positive pro-social thing for you to be doing. But be clear, you ain't gonna never convince me. And then this comment here from Hint of Shrimp, I don't know where they think they're at. I'm white and I'm more into Gnosticism than anything. The Christian elite is mostly Promethean secret societies looking to Albert Pike, really racist and very much a mystic pretending to be a Christian. This comment feels like a mystic pretending to be a Christian. Sorry. Don't know what's going on. I'm not privy to the inner world of these type of debates, but this is the type of nonsense we're talking about. God isn't real, okay? It's a fairy tale. We have scientific knowledge of the fact that we evolved. So to me, the entire principle of God knowledge is completely undermined. And I don't even know what that means. I'm mostly into Gnosticism. Like, isn't the term Gnostic about knowledge, but people of faith are somehow Gnostics? I don't get it. That's what I mean.
Well, they know they believe.
More word
They can be
games.
sure of that. They know they believe.
God is the
But
collective underlying consciousness we all share that separates into our experience through the physical world and our bodies. We are God. We have amnesia. No, we are animals. We are human beings. Gods are things that humans made up. I don't even know. Why would I even want to be a god? This is the type of silly shit I'm talking about. People assume that God is this great, powerful. Gods don't exist. I am far superior right now as flawed Jason Bundy to the concept of being a god, which is not real. And as a human being, what good would it do to call myself a god, as though I can't value who I am right now in this body unless I can be convinced that I'm something other than what I am? Unless I can be convinced that I have this deep-seated spiritual, supernatural, otherworldly power this is the problem. Why do men want to believe that they're gods? We're men, we're people. I don't mean men gendered, I just mean humans. Like, we're people. Like, there's no reason as people to tell ourselves that we're anything other than people. It is being people that has got us this far, and it is being people that's gonna get us where we gotta go.
I think pocket locker people want to feel they are godlike so that they feel less powerless, so that they feel maybe some of the hardships they're experiencing are a bit of a choice and not merely things that are happening to them, but things that are happening through them. And doesn't that all sound like something we've heard?
Yeah, but it's such a huge problem, because number
It's
one,
coping.
it's cope.
Coping.
Yeah, absolutely cope.
It is.
You're denying your humanity. Further, you are actually blaming yourself for stuff that's not your fault. Again, we have real human problems to solve, and when you give yourself this fake agency, number one, you overlook the fact that, again, we are social species. And I mean this serious. I'm gonna get a little bit nerdy on y'all, but as somebody, like, I'm teaching sociology, I'm teaching cultural anthropology, you have to understand that fundamental to these fields of social sciences is that the things we go through and experience as human beings are social phenomena, meaning something like that you think of as being very individualized, like suicide, crime, the decision to have an abortion, the decision to get married, what you pursue in your career. We all think of these as individual things, that they're like, I'm doing some individual, but they're social products. We can demonstrate empirically and scientifically that certain social conditions create the social phenomena that then people are constrained in their choices, and that is what leads to our societal ills. So when you spiritualize life, when you spiritualize problems, you literally remove our ability to use our agency to craft the social world to be the type of world we want to live in that produces the results we want in society. So you are literally taking away your agency. And then you're also providing cover for the people that continue to oppress us, the people that continue to rig the system. You actually do their bidding for them because they're going to say your problems are your fault. And then you turn around and say, well, I'm God, so you're right. My problems are my fault. Nah, I'm not. That's why I'm not having it. Like, that is literally dangerous messaging, and I'm not here for it. This is why we got to stop with the spiritual mumbo jumbo, y'all. There's nothing to that. All right, let's let her roll because I feel a strong rant coming. I need to resist the temptation.
Talk about some of the ways in which our communities were taught a version of Christianity that was fundamentally in opposition to what Africans had been practicing up until that time. Let's look at this video and take a listen.
Inside Washington's Museum of the Bible, a single volume that is like no other. The so-called Slave Bible, remarkable not for what's in it, but for what's not.
So about 90% of the Old Testament's been removed, and about 50% of the New Testament's been removed. To put it another way, a normal King James Version has 1,189 chapters in it. The Slave Bible has only 232.
Missing are chapters.
Wait,
and
I gotta. Sorry,
to put it another.
Chat has distracted me. Anybody in chat trying to y'all need.
I can't see the chat, so I don't know what the comments is.
Well, you should pull it up. This oh no, we got the religious folks in here today. I don't know how we got Hidden Shrimp. It's not a god. It's the conscious faculty. It's the fact that your body happened to you. It's your dog. Just study some biology. That's all I'm gonna tell you. You're talking to a biologist. Like, very poetic. I'm cool. Nice poetry about the nature of man. Like, that's where I'm at with this stuff. Cool poetry, bro. And then this person is all caps rage. I don't know what happened to the bot. I don't know where's the Streamlabs bot. I didn't think people were supposed to be able to put this many capital letters in the chat.
Well, I'll let this person know if they're near Fort Wayne, Indiana, on Sandpoint Road, they'll find the Insight Meditation Center. I don't know what its hours are, but they should stop in and have a seat for a while.
I don't know. They're concerned about the people connecting faith to skin color. I don't know. But look, y'all, let's read about the Slave Bible, because this is the real meat and potatoes of this whole thing, y'all. Is that people, especially Black Christians, need to understand that this is how they indoctrinated your people. There was she kind of broke down the history quite well. Mm-hmm. They did not convert us because they at the time had serious theological constraints. Think about it. They literally did not want Black people to be Christians because they knew they could not, in good faith, enslave other Christians. Which that right there should be the death and end of Christianity. Christianity should be nothing to talk about once you recognize that Christians deliberately withheld Christianity from others so that they could enslave them without feeling bad about it. That's all I need to know about Christianity right there. But if you needed more information, they then changed their mind and said, you know what, actually, teaching them Christianity would be better because, after all, Christianity does legitimize slavery and make it appear to be part of God's order. But let's just cut out all the parts where they might infer that God actually wants them to be free or that God brings his people out, which is so amazing because today current Christians literally identify Black Christianity with Exodus. They literally read the Bible and they think that Exodus is about Black people because God wanted his people to be free and let my people go. Black people love that shit. They don't even realize that shit wasn't even in the Bible given to Black folk specifically for that reason. So nobody buys that. And so it's crazy that people don't realize that Christianity is literally something given to Black people only once white people could be convinced it would make them better slaves. And then you got to get into
the United States, yeah.
Yeah, and then you got to get into Walcott and all that, how to make a Negro Christian and all this other stuff. So I don't know what people are
Other way,
thinking.
a normal King
90%
James
and
version has
50%.
1,189
Jeez.
chapters.
Slave
All right, here we go.
remarkable not for what's in it, but for what's not.
So
Child.
about 90% of the Old Testament's been removed, and about 50% of the New Testament's been removed. To put it another way, a normal King
90%
James
and
version has
50%.
1,189
Jesus.
chapters in it. The Slave Bible has only 232.
Missing are chapters and verses that might have encouraged uprisings. Book of Exodus, redacted. No story of Moses demanding Pharaoh, let my people go. Gone is Galatians, and the verse, there is neither bond nor free, for ye are all one in Christ Jesus. And no Jeremiah, woe unto him that useth his neighbor's service without wages.
What they've left in are verses such as Ephesians 6:5, which is the famous verse, slaves be obedient to your master.
Looking at this Bible, it's hard to tell that anything's been taken out of it.
That's correct. I mean, it looks like a normal book. For many enslaved Africans, this would have been the first time they were exposed to the Bible.
A Bible
Or reading.
selectively edited to instill obedience, using religion to underpin the horror of slavery.
When people encounter this exhibit, what lasting impression do you want them to leave?
And again, let's be clear. Motherfuckers, they still didn't want us to be able to read said Bible. We still weren't allowed to read.
Yeah,
We
very few
weren't allowed to
people.
have an education. And also, like, I just can't understand how people just don't understand just the horrible racism of just the entire world's history. The fact that black people and women and poor people couldn't own land, the fact that we were exploited. People don't realize that even the capitalism we deal with today is a direct lineage with the feudalism in the slave society, and none of the economy as we know it today would be possible without this institution. So again, I still live in an ugly fucking Christian country that even today in 2025 doesn't want to be honest about its history of slavery, doesn't want to be honest about its history of racial discrimination, doesn't want to be honest about how all these marginalized populations actually were introduced to Christianity in the first place, wants to end DEI, doesn't want to celebrate Black history, doesn't understand Black history, considers all Black people to be DEI hires who are unqualified. This is just the type of stuff where I just don't even understand how people want to like pretend that this Christianity thing is cute. I find it such an abject insult to my intelligence and, more importantly, my dignity as a human being, and even further, to be specific, my dignity as a Black man. Just the fact, I'll be honest with y'all, I'm insulted that people can come through my chat and see a Black man on screen talking negatively and truthfully about Christianity and literally spiritualize Christianity in the goddamn live chat of my goddamn channel. I find that so unbelievably insulting. And I think people are so dense.
They believe.
Oh my goodness. They believe to the point of literally being brain dead.
That 1 Peter 3:15, they're supposed to be able to tell you the reason for the hope they have. The response, Pocket Locker, please understand, and I know you do. The response to our challenges to their faith are rarely things that aren't quotations from their faith. Am I wrong?
No, it's like
They don't say, well, Pocket
people
Locker,
in
they'll
one
use,
book.
though evolution is a demonstrated theory, we see it, we know it happened, we have the evidence. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. God used the dust of the ground to create man. No, man rose from lower apes. That's comforting and hilarious, Pocket Locker, but really, in all seriousness, my holy book says that God created man from the dust of the ground. He created woman from the man's side. And no, my one Black friend, it's not a parable. That's history, right? Ken Ham could tell you that with a straight face and pockets bulging with cash. Frank Turek can tell you that with a straight face and pockets bulging with cash.
But again, like,
intellectually honest Christians
how
who
did
go,
Frank Turek or any of these people, how did Ken Ham get into this world? Oh, through the womb of his mother? Yeah, okay, cool. But Adam was different. Adam Adam just came from the dust, and then a woman came from a man's rib, rather than
Yes.
the first man
Facts.
coming out of
Facts.
a woman's vajayjay. Yeah, I don't even. Yeah, honestly, I don't even think people like that are intelligent enough to vote. I didn't say
Oh,
I didn't say I
they're
didn't ask
smart
for them to
people because
take
they know how to
away your
keep the
right to
illusion.
vote. I'm just saying I don't think you're intelligent enough to vote. I think you
Well,
should
they're
self-select that. I think you should stay home and sit on the bench and say, you know what, I just have to self-identify as too low IQ to participate in democracy.
they're very good at convincing others to stay faithful. They are. They're very good at reassuring people that what they've been taught all these years is valuable, honest information that can't be refuted by the scientific world.
Mm.
That's what they're great at.
And that's why the rest of
However,
us, yeah.
the best of students of the scientific world have to look at them and go, "You're wrong. You're wrong. I know it's okay for me to believe this Christianity. I can believe it. I have a firm foundation in the understanding of science, which doesn't pretend to answer all the questions, right? It doesn't, but it gets some answers that have irrefutable answers, unlike one's faith,
I'm gonna show you my ability to be
if it is the
empathetic.
Christian
Rock,
faith.
I put you in timeout due to vicarious embarrassment. Every time you open your mouth, I'm so humiliated for you that it puts you in timeout so you could take a few minutes to think about how ridiculous you look to other grown adults and correct your course of action. See, I'm being nice. I'm a nicer guy than I get credit for.
But we want to pass the
So
message on that
merciful.
may this never happen again. The Bible itself is a whole book. It's not one that you get to carve up and use this piece or that piece.
The slave Bible designed to repress.
But again, I bet you if I told that dude about the 613 laws, he gonna talk to me about a new covenant and how we're under. See, see, this is what I mean about the lies and the BS that people just get to say on behalf of Christianity. When it
Will he
suits
also
you,
talk about if he's been circumcised, then he has to follow the whole law, which the Bible also says?
yeah, that's the weird thing. Got to follow that part, but then it's a new. I don't. It's so
Most,
twisted.
if this person is an American male, most American males have been
Yeah,
circumcised.
we were circumcised. Yeah, I was circumcised. I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I guess they didn't tell my parents about the new covenant before they decided to circumcise us.
Rebellion, but it didn't work. Enslaved people in the Caribbean constantly fought against slavery until emancipation.
I think it's very relevant to understand our history, not just American history, but our African American history, our roots, and how we got to this point.
A dark chapter in the history of the good book. Jeff Bennett, NBC News, Washington.
Yeah, I didn't catch it, but that person was a Christian too. I'm gonna let her roll so we can get out of here.
Now, as I describe in the podcast more in depth, there are a lot of people who will say, "Oh my Lord, Larry, you are being so harsh against these enslavers. They were Christians. They just did not know at the time that it was bad." Well, as I describe in the article, we get into an author by the name of David Walker, and he wrote this phenomenal piece for which he was murdered during enslavement. And he was basically saying, these white Christians are enslavers and they're evil. Like this, we should be able to call
the
this
big
evil.
choose
This
your
is
own
not good.
adventure book.
And for everybody who says they were just people of their time, we know that being people of their time was not an excuse, because people of that time was like, what you're doing is evil and this is wrong. David Walker says in his David Walker's appeal, for which he was killed, quote, "Never make an attempt to gain our freedom of natural right from under our cruel oppressors and murderers until you see your way clear. When that hour arrives and you move, be not afraid nor dismayed, for be ye assured that Jesus Christ, the King of heaven and of earth, who is the God of justice and of armies, will surely go before you. And those enemies who have for hundreds of years stolen our rights, kept us ignorant of him and his divine worship, he will remove. Millions of whom are this day so ignorant and avaricious that they cannot conceive how God can have an attitude of justice and mercy to us because it pleased him to make us black. Which color Mr. Jefferson," talking about Thomas Jefferson, who was probably busy raping a black girl at that moment, which Mr. Jefferson calls unfortunate, as though we are not thankful to our God for having made us as it pleased himself, as they, the whites, are for having been made white. They think because they hold us in their infernal chains of
Time out.
slavery that we wish to be
Walker,
white
Walker.
or of their color,
Can you
but they are
pause it,
dreadful.
please? Audience, Walker, think about what she is reading. She is quoting the writings of a man who is a black Christian at the time when slavery is legal. He is locked in, hook, line, and sinker
I know, it's
to
devastating.
believing in what we're hearing. He is locked in. Whether he truly believes it or not, outside of the letter she's reading, I don't know. I don't know anything about David Walker.
I have to.
However, what we're
Okay.
hearing, he is sold out for Jesus. Go ahead, Pocket Locker.
I have to revisit this piece that we talked about a couple times on James Apperson's channel. It's a famous scene from a movie where there are Jewish people who were locked up in a concentration camp, and they put God on trial during the
Mm-hmm.
Holocaust.
It's very,
and
very
and
riveting.
yeah, some are hanging on, but some are like, no, that God hates us. That God has abandoned us. And I take so much solace in that. Like, I take so much solace in the resist. That's where I'm at. And it's very difficult to live my truth, but I'm realizing that that's my power. My power is to get in somebody's face and say, no, I'm a former Christian. Say that shit to me. No, tell me how reasonable. Tell me how logical it is. Tell me, because they put me through it. You understand? So now it's like I'm getting to that place where I'm finding my strength to tell people, like, no, I'm a former believer. I'm not gonna let you lie to my face about Christianity anymore. Like, I'm not gonna do that. But that's me. I'm trying to identify with that resistance. What that guy was just talking about, I know that so many black folk find strength and hope and all of that stuff there. But I just heard Stockholm syndrome of the worst kind. And again, like, all of this reclamation, it matters too, because part of what has happened, and I think this part of what's going on, and I just kind of put this together in the moment talking to you, but I feel like a lot of it is because that worldview has legitimized spiritual warfare. And so then it allows that struggle, spiritual warfare. Sorry. So within the, you know what I mean? So now it allows for within their own, conflicts and their own engagements, for them to feel like they're now engaged in the spiritual warfare. And so I think, like, that's what you're hearing in that, right? Is you're hearing the spiritual warfare, him sort of claim Christianity and God for his cause, for his identity, for his people, right? And then saying, we're not going to let them win the spiritual battle of claiming our sort of religious heritage. But what I hear is, again, people putting their hope in a bunch of fairy tales, lies, and nonsense. And I hear black people putting their hope in fairy tales, lies, and nonsense that were forced on them as enslaved people. And so to me, there's no way. And this is the thing that scares me even about what she is doing. There is no way, in my understanding, to respect the ancestors, to respect the history, to honor the real truth about what happened, other than to leave and completely abandon and resist Christianity. This idea that the way to honor the ancestors is to reclaim Christianity for ourselves is, again, suggesting that the thing the white man gave us is the thing that we now need to thrive, that we need to be whole. And now it doesn't matter that it's not true. We need it because we got to reclaim it from the white man. That's Stockholm syndrome, because you're literally prioritizing the thing the white man told you to prioritize without any inclination that the thing the white man told you to prioritize even exists. So that's why I can't get with that. I can't get with that. No, the only way to honor your ancestors is to leave Christianity.
It's not the only way, but it's certainly.
To me, that's the main way. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
Obviously, probably the best thing any of us can do, regardless if your ancestors came from Ireland or Sierra Leone, is to be the best possible person you can be and live a good life where you respect others and prosper,
And yeah,
not
and I would say
one where
part of
you're
that is,
constantly being injurious to other people. That's not the way, regardless of how poorly your ancestors were treated. That certainly isn't the way.
but see, part of that is don't play about freedom. I talked about this, I think, yesterday with the Godless Granny. Check out Godless Granny channel. Been with her a couple times over the last couple weeks. I don't even plug a lot of the shows and appearances, stuff like that I make, because I genuinely really like these people and started to consider them friends. So I just felt like I was chatting with my friend, and I'd be like, oh shit, Jay, you was on Godless Granny channel. You better let people know. You better let people know to go watch that content. But yeah, shout out to Granny. She's just a sweetheart, and I'm so glad I got to meet her in person. Now we've had a couple conversations since. All right, so I'm with you, my one black friend. It's tough and it's hard. Yeah, I think this is our fight. It's like a lot of things. For instance, like I get very frustrated sometimes about just evolution. And I think a mistake that a lot of my colleagues make is they speak about the Darwinian revolution like it happened in the past and it's already done. And then I'm sitting here trying to fight this fight where so many people don't accept evolution. So many people don't understand evolution if they do accept it. So many people that accept it even accept it for theological reasons, not for scientific reasons, and that's a problem too. So I just have to say to myself, that's where we're at. It's 2025. There's a sort of state of the world in terms of understanding and accepting evolution, and you just have to get from where we're at to where we're going. And it's, to me, the same thing dealing with what it means to be black in America and deal with Christianity. It is at once, okay, MAGA's taken over. We're dealing with Christo-fascism totally in power and run amok. At the same time, our black communities are just deeply, deeply, deeply religious and still can't even conceive of the person they look at in the mirror without God. And then there's just this sort of burgeoning, bubbling consciousness within those of us that are secular, and maybe people like me, secular and revolting. And we're just having to do the work now of growing our numbers, getting our strategy together, learning how to fight for ourselves, learning how to advocate for ourselves, learning how to get engaged and organized so we could go about trying to create the world we want to live in. And it sucks. It's a fight. It's an uphill battle. I wish this uphill battle was all over and we could just be coasting downhill, chilling, having a good time. But that's just not the situation today. So, we just got to stay geared up for this fight. We're doing all right on time. Let me let her roll so we could get through this thing.
Deceived. We wish to be just as it pleased our Creator to make us. There was very clear debate about whether or not what the church was doing at that time was accurate, was good, was healthy, was in the line and in the teachings of God. And again, in the podcast episode, I go way more into this, and I'm sort of rushing right now because I want to get to the end of this. But I'm speaking really to a lot of the black Christians who have been coming out talking about how I just can't judge a Charlie Kirk. I can't judge the white nationalists because they are also children of God. You need to be crystal clear that for the entirety of the white American religious experiments in what we now know as Christianity, they have been very clear that the white matters more than Christian, and that when they hear the phrase black Christian, for them, the black matters more than the Christian as well, because they did only allowed Christianity to be promulgated to the enslaved occupations because it was going to allow them to further enslavement. But be crystal clear. If you cannot have a race, a liberation theology rooted, a James Cone approach to understanding what is happening in this moment right now, because I've seen a lot of them say, we don't worship the same Jesus. You're right. We don't worship the same Jesus. If you cannot call out white nationalism when it is raging, we don't worship the same Jesus. You don't worship Jesus at all. You worship whiteness. And I'm going to need the black church, because we go, and on the other side of this commercial break, we're going to hear some clips from some pastors who are really speaking out about this. But the lay people, the everyday community, the body of Christ, There are two types of Christians in American theology and in American reality. It's the white nationalist enslaver Christians, and it's the Nat Turner Christians. Choose ye this day whom you gonna serve. Choose ye this day whom you gonna follow. Choose ye this day which type of Christianity you gonna be calling. Are you calling on the God of liberation, or are you calling on the God of whiteness? They are not the same God. And the question we're going to have to figure out today, as we look at the cross and the lynching tree, as we are hearing stories about the lynching of Black people today, as you got the entire nation gathered to mourn somebody who was willing to support the ideas that were direct descendants from the enslavement of our people. Oh, I guess I shouldn't say everybody, because Donald Trump went golfing when everybody else was at that memorial for that man. Choose ye this day, church. Who you going to serve? You going to serve the cross, or you going to serve the lynching tree? You don't get a whole lot more clearer than that. And if you are a part of a Black church that has decided to serve the lynching tree, then I'm going to need you to come join the rest of us over here who are going to still continue to sit up underneath the cross. And if you can't do that, well, thank you for making the choice that much easier. We are now going to head into commercial break. Urban View,
Why are y'all so angry? You have the white.
All right, we might do that next week. That's a good clip. That's a good Joy Reid clip. But look, y'all, let me just keep it real. Man, it's so tough for me to see people like the video we just watched, and I'm so glad we got through it, y'all. And nobody can say we didn't get through it, because we dedicated 3 episodes to it. We took it in parts. We stayed dedicated. We resumed. We gave that woman her space to say what she needed to say. And it's hard for me. And it's hard for me, y'all, because I think the media diet in this moment is so important. And it is so hard for me to find Black voices, liberating voices, progressive voices, voices on the left, voices for human rights, voices that, you know, really you could be proud to listen to and think that this person is steering you in the right direction, okay? And she represents to me one of those voices, the same way Joy Reid represents one of those voices, the same way there's a lot of Black people that represent those voices. And so I'd like to look for them, and I like to look to them, because otherwise, y'all know my media diet is going to be a bunch of white liberals. And shout out to my white liberals. I love y'all. But in this moment, my perspective is a lot of y'all need to take a back seat, because you're new to this, and the MO of the enemy has always focused and centered on marginalized people. So now it's time for the resistance to center on marginalized people, because we can't really deal with the hell that white supremacy is bringing to us, right, within that same paradigm, right? So anyway, what happens then is I'm trying to find these Black voices, but it is so hard because I go to them and then so many of them are so Christian. And for me, it undermines then their ability to really meet this moment, right? Because it's like we can never go there. So then even though you're on the left, or even though you're dealing with some radical based people, like I think that woman is clearly very educated. She's clearly a great content creator. She clearly prepares well. She's very entertaining. Like she just kind of has it going on in terms of, you know, everything that she's bringing to the content that she's making, right? But there is just still this very Christian coded language, right? And at the end, this is not really about Black people being able to have a united critique against Christianity. Instead, this is a calling in and an infighting amongst Christian subgroups, right? And that to me is not a productive conversation for us to be having right now. So it hurts, and I mean that sincerely. It hurts to feel like even the Black folks who are the most capable of helping us in this moment right now are often themselves just so sold out to Christianity that they really can't see that there just isn't any truth to it. And it's very frustrating, especially when people are that intelligent and they still can't see through it. The other thing I'll say is that it's scary for me, and I mean scary literally. People don't realize this, but I deal with a lot of fear and insecurity, particularly in my professional life. just being an academic, I always feel like there's a struggle between what is considered professionally safe at a particular institution versus what is authentic in terms of me just being able to be myself and be honest, and especially the ethics of that, particularly in the classroom, where I feel like I have a social and a moral obligation to be real and be honest and engaging with my students, and sometimes challenging with my students, even if that is not really safe for me or prudent professionally. I'm just one of those people. I think of it like a doctor, right? When you're a doctor, like you have an oath to do no harm, right? And so you got to do what's right for this patient. And the insurance company and hospital policy be damned sometimes because you have obligations to that patient, right? And that's how I treat students. But I've talked to myself and a lot of other academics. We feel very scared, and it's not like I'm scared because I'm going to say something and I'm racist. It's like I'm scared because I'm going to say something and I'm anti-racist, and I'm
We are at that point where saying the
yeah,
right thing is the wrong thing to do,
yeah,
because you can get punished. Hey,
yeah.
Parker, I apologize. I have to get going.
No, you're good to go. My point,
Okay.
just to wrap that up, I was just going to say that people like that, in effect, hurt people like me because it feels like they gatekeep those spaces too, right? So her being a Black Christian allows her to move in certain circles safely, comfortably, and with upward mobility, whereas I, as a Black atheist, really do struggle and am afraid in those same spaces because it's not as intellectually safe for me. And I wish that was something we could get into and have a bigger conversation about as people of color, but we're just not there yet. But yeah, I know we got to let you go, and we're just under an hour, so I appreciate your time today. I had a bunch of issues with my camera, so we were extra delayed in getting going today. But thank
That's
you so
all right.
much, my one Black friend. Did you have
You're welcome.
anything else you wanted to say before you head out?
Vet your contractors. I said that last week, folks, in case you didn't see it.
Yeah, in case
Vet
you
your
were wondering if he's
contractors.
over that.
I got somebody from Angie's List, and the person, it was like they were new. Like everything they did, they hadn't done before, except for grout. Like that, they did okay. But there's so many other things. I'm like, I could show my child if she was 10 years old how to do this, and she would do it better than they did.
Right, right.
Yeah, it's just I have a gutter that doesn't catch water. The water literally comes off the roof and onto the ground, and the gutter is right there. I'm like, didn't you check this? And it's just one thing after another. Molding, so easy to get right, folks. I wouldn't pay somebody else to do it. I just didn't have the time. I'm in Indiana. My house is in California. You can do it yourself. Just rent a miter saw and go to it yourself. You'll be surprised at how simple it is. Nail gun, miter saw. It's cheaper. You can do it cheaper than you can pay somebody else to do it. Just don't be afraid to try it. You'll definitely do better than the guys I had do my house, who, in my opinion, should not be doing anything related to construction unless it was construction paper where they're cutting out
Right.
shapes, to make like the people holding hands. They probably could do that okay. But yeah, don't let them work on your house. Vet your contractors.
For sure.
Hmm.
All right, gang. Well, that is going to do it for us. Again, quick reminder, we're trying to raise some funds to help Lina get a new phone. So please consider donating or sharing the link in the description. We'll be in our new virtual headquarters, which we kind of debuted on a stream last night. So there's a link in the description to come hang out there. And yeah, a lot of fun stuff going on there. And then, yeah, I was on Godless Grannies a couple times the last couple weeks, so definitely check that out. And we'll be back for Black Free Thinkers, not this Monday, but the following. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks to all the mods. If you're watching later, leave us a comment. Like the video before you head out. We really appreciate it. And as always, be good to yourselves.
And vet your contract. I mean, and each other.